Hello.
Hello there.
Debra Debs, yes, it is.
Yeah, it's Glossy from Sound Fusion Radio.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Been waiting for your call, so yeah. Good, thanks.
That's good. Well, thank you very much for waiting. That's very, very kind of you. And whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in Aldgate at the moment. Some quiet room in the office.
Ah, right. Oh, that's fair enough. There we go. So do you mind if I start firing some questions at you? Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okie dokie. Well, you're born in the Cameroon. Your bio says that you owe your early music days to your mother's jazz collection. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So my mum was a big fan of Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan. And and other great artists like Chet Baker and stuff. But I sort of followed mainly Ella Fitzgerald because I liked the sound of her voice. And, as a kid, she was female, so I kind of related to her. And then I started listening to neo soul in the sort of late 1990s, and then got really involved in jazz and soul, and obviously R&B, and yeah, they've influenced my sound and my music today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you attended a missionary school and sang as a tenor in the choir, and then you were part of a 7-piece girl band. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So in Cameroon, I went to a boarding school for girls, and at the age of 13, as in third year secondary school, I decided I wanted to join the choir and sing because I had nothing better to do. So my music teacher auditioned me. Put me in as a tenor singer for the choir, and then myself and a few classmates, about six classmates, formed a girl band, and we'd write our own gospel songs and work at our own harmonies, and I sang tenor in that as well. But myself and another good friend of mine were the main songwriters for the girl band. That lasted about 3-4 years. And then after A-levels, we all just travelled abroad, and it ended up splitting up. But yeah, it was a good time, definitely.
Sounds wonderful. So what sort of music did you do in the girl band then? What sort of things did you cover?
It was only gospel, because
yes.
In a missionary school it was Christian, so the only songs we could sort of write and sing to people, during devotions and class meetings and whatnot. And Sunday service with gospel songs. So yeah, that's a great influence as well.
Wonderful. That sounds really, really great. Thank you for sharing that. That's brilliant. And
Cool.
So your musical style and influences, I was going to ask you, what are your earliest musical memories as a child?
Oh, wow. I'd say Dolly Parton. I can remember, and there was a rock band called, I can't remember what they called, but they sang a song called, I think it went along the lines of, I don't know why she's going, where she's going. I guess she's got a reason, but I just don't want to know. 24 years living next door to Alice. I can't remember the name of the band. But I had no preference. It was literally whatever was played at home, whatever was played in the car. I listened to. There was rock, there was jazz, there was gospel, there was, you had 80s classics, there was funk, even the Beatles. My mum was a great fan of the Beatles. So I would just listen to music day in and day out, and it grew on me. But when I sort of hit my teens, I listened to mainly R&B because, I started going clubbing, and that was the kind of music you danced to in clubs.
Yes.
And then from there, I thought, I wanted to be a bit more involved in singing and songwriting. And then, the likes of D'Angelo came along, Jill Scott came along, and I thought, Erica Badu as well, and I thought, you know what, I found my sound. Because I have a slightly lower tone than most girls. And I thought, well, I can't do high-pitched songs, and I'm not really a great singer of R&B. I'm looking for something more jazzy, more soulful. So when neo-soul came along, I thought, you know what, this is it. That's definitely the very first sort of door to my musical artistry.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So this is how you managed to get the musical handle of neo, soulful, jazzy R&B, Afro soul things.
That's exactly what what it is. Yeah, I just want to put myself in I'm a universal singer, and that's it. It's like, anything that sounds soulful and jazzy, R&B as well. I listened to Whitney Houston a lot when I was younger. I just can't sing like Whitney Houston, but she's fabulous. Every singer needs to find their own niche and they find their own spot, whatever suits them, whether it's a comfort zone or it's a zone you want to use that's out of your comfort zone. I'm sort of open to all sorts of sounds and genres. But in order to shine, it's just got to produce the best sound for yourself.
Yep, there you go. And all of those things I do hear inside your music on the Life Cycles album there specifically. It's absolutely great. You don't know how long it took me to practice saying that. It took me a long time. Anyway. Oh dear. So
exactly.
If we can talk a little bit about the Life Cycles LP, it's described as an intricate blend of sounds infused with 90s R&B, jazz, gospel, African rhythms and skilled lyricism. Well, you couldn't question any of that. That's definitely all there. And I was going to ask you about Caught Up, the tune Caught Up. In that tune you say, life can be a painful game, but we keep on playing. Perhaps you could elaborate a little more on those lyrics for me.
Yes, it's a good thing you picked up on that. Myself, like, most of the people have gone through heartbreaks and relationships and, I've always thought that, you've got to keep it moving. It's okay to fall in love, even though you're falling in love and had your heart broken before. But the thing about human beings is we kind of love to bask in pain. Sometimes you break up, you become miserable for a few months and people try and snap you out of it. But you just insist being miserable and feeling sorry for yourself. So that's kind of like the pain that we human beings like to go through. But at the end of the day, we always pick ourselves up and go, do you know what? That's done. That's done. Dust yourself up. You move on. You fall in love again. You go through the cycle again. You dust yourself up. So it's, to us, it's a game. It's something that we enjoy doing, whether we like it or not. It's just, it's part of our sort of innate nature, if you like. Yes. That's definitely why I wrote that line.
No, it's a great line. It caught my attention. I had to write it down. I put it into my notes. You know how it is. So I had to ask you about it. And then I was having a look at the a review from BarmerLoveSoul.com, which talks about your Fizzy Lemonade tune, and they describe it as bubbly with a hint of citrus tang, and I thought that was really colourful, really lovely the way they said that. Perhaps you can tell us a little more about Fizzy Lemonade.
Okay, well, Fizzy Lemonade, I wrote this song actually in 2008, and at the time I wanted to get into music production. I had no clue I wanted to work on an album. I just thought, hey, play something. And so I was using Logic, the old Logic, which is a production software on Windows computer.
Yes.
And I just started playing with the bass line on my piano. It was more jazzy than it actually is on the album. The album's got more soul to it. But when I wrote it just went... And then I thought, I've got to write something really poetic over this. I kind of like the groove. I'm not sure why I thought of Fizzy Lemonade, but I just had the title in my head and I thought, okay, great, this is a fabulous title. But what lyrics am I going to put to it? And so I just put that down, and then over a few days, I listened to Jill Scott's album. I think it's called, it was The Real Beautifully Human, I think volume 2, I'm not quite sure.
Yes.
And Jill Scott's so poetic in the way she writes, she's a storyteller. So I thought I'd take the idea of poetry, love, and just music in general, put it all together and make something that's not easy to interpret. Because, the general love songs, I love you, broke my heart, okay, move on. But I wanted something that, listeners or fans would listen, but not just groove to it. They were thinking, what does Fizzy Lemonade mean? Or what does Open Me Like a Book mean? Or what does my manual scribbled all over me mean? And it just makes it a bit more interesting than the standard song. But yeah, I really love writing to it, and then I took it to my producer, and he just turned it into what you've got now on the album.
That's wonderful. Well, that's your skilled lyricism there, because it gets people thinking around the words, and I think that's a great thing to do with a song. You know, like you say, it's very easy to do the make up, break up thing and not really say very much in that sense, but to create imagery around that is a wonderful thing, and I think that works beautifully on that song. And talking of strong sort of message, the song "Daddy." That's got a very strong sort of feel to the lyrics of that. Is that you portraying a true story, or is that a thought in the mind? What's Daddy all about?
Oh, that's my story. That's my every single thing you heard on the track, every single lyric. It's actually my story. I grew up with my mum, a single home, and my dad was around, but I didn't get to see him much. And then I went to primary school, and then a classmate of mine said, "Oh, your surname? There's a few other kids in the class below us who've got your surname." And I was like, "Really?" So I walked up to, I went to the class and, kind of checking out who it was, and found out I had two little brothers and a younger sister, or two younger brothers and a younger sister. And we quickly made friends. We just bonded, and they looked like me. And I thought, wow, I didn't, because I'm my mother's only biological child. So it was fantastic for me. I think it was about 9 at the time to have had brothers and sisters. And then I realized my dad would come pick them up, but he wouldn't even, he wouldn't even look for me. He wouldn't try to find me. But I'd see them go to dad's car. And, once in a while, I'd go up to the car and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, how you doing? How's your mother? Say hi to her for me." And that was it.
Yeah.
And fast forward years later, I was graduating at Thames Valley University, doing a music degree, and my mum came down with my dad. It was great, but I thought, I'm 25 now, don't really have a relationship with you. What are you doing? But it was painful, because as a teenager you want to have a protective fatherly love, and you don't get it, so you have to sort of be protective of yourself, and then you rebel against your mother because you tend to blame her for the absence of your dad, and it's just not a good feeling. But I mean, my dad and I, we get on well. When I travel to Cameroon, I think we talk, so he's cool, and he's asked for forgiveness. I've forgiven him. We've moved on, but yes. I know that there are lots of people who relate to that kind of story, so I had to put the message out.
Well, the message, everything you said there is right there in that song, beautifully written. The imagery of you sort of going up to your father's office and things like that's in the song, gives that very strong message. And I did feel that it must be personal experience, because it just, when a story has an accuracy about it that can't come from anywhere else.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have made it up.
Exactly. It was, it's very, very good in the story. And then another couple of tunes I was going to talk to you about. The next one was "Blending Colours." Is that from a real relationship, or what's the?
Well, that's another true story. It's my neighbour is Chinese, and he was dating a lady from, I think, Sri Lanka. So for years, I'd see them holding hands, but when they saw me, they sort of drop the hands and they would hold each other. Yes. But he had a flat who I was close to, and she would tell me, his parents didn't want him to date someone out of his race because of I think they've got this, I'm not sure if it still goes on, but in China there was a one-child policy.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, because of overpopulation. So his parents sort of felt that, if he was going to marry someone out of his race, then that's their bloodline, kind of, diluted. And I'm not sure that that's what they wanted. So his mother, and he was really in love with this girl, so she lived across the road from us. And his mother flew all the way from China. She came down and wrote a letter and took it to the lady's house and said, I don't want you to see my son ever again. He's my only child, and you have to marry someone from China because we have no other children. And if you don't break up with him, I'm going to go back to China and divorce his dad. And that was painful to hear. And he actually just called her up and said, "Listen, I don't want you to be the cause of my parents' breakup." So therefore, they've been broken up for a couple of years now. But that was, to me, that was the biggest blackmail of his parents, because to do to a child. But on top of that, I thought, we live in a multicultural society, multicultural world. There's so many different creeds, cultures. This globalization you can't stop it happening. So why would anyone still live in the old world? And that really bothered me. So I thought I'd put the message out, because she's not the only one who's done that to a child. And you have lots of people who suffer discrimination from their parents, their family members, their friends, for either being maybe gay, or being female, or being black, or being white, or being maybe Christian and Muslim. And I think it's unfair. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. A huge collection of labels available if people choose to use them. But like you say, the world gets smaller by the second, and people have to adapt. And I think the story there in that song is a very relevant and in many ways a very beautiful one, even though it highlights the sort of hardship involved in that particular situation. I think it does make you think, and that's obviously where you were coming from when you put the tune together. So wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I've got to ask you about Africa. I've got to ask you about that 1.4 million plays on YouTube. You must be absolutely smiling from ear to ear, and what a message! What a message that song delivers.
Thank you.
Please tell us more about it.
Africa, oh my gosh. So the story of Africa is I don't know if you remember, in 2011, sort of early 2011, there was a revolution in Egypt, Tunisia, I think it was Algeria as well. A lot of the North African countries, they were sort of rebelling against the regimes. And you had Libya as well. And I was following this up critically, thinking, wow, okay, it sounds like people have woken up. But I'm also a conspiracy theorist, so I wasn't quite sure if this was, the people fighting for their rights, fighting for sort of freedom, if you like, or was it masterminded by, the West? So I wasn't quite sure about that. But I thought, at the end of the day, we need, in Africa, to be as competitive as the West, as China, as India. But I feel that we're being stifled either by ourselves, or by our governments, or by, other continental countries. I'm not quite sure what the reason behind that was. But I thought I had to put a message out to our leaders, that basically says, listen, we have all the resources that we can get to become a competitive continent. We have diamond, ore, we have lots of minerals, we have gold, we have manpower, but yet we're viewed as the least successful continent, in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
So I had to basically get on that song and say, you guys need to fix up, you have to do something about this. But also, you have to realise that we have so much more than we're actually giving the rest of the world, and the rest of the world needs to recognise that we're not poor, we're not innately poor.
Right.
But it's just a call. It's just a call to senses, if you like, to get people to sort of be motivated, to be a bit more driven. And Africa is a beautiful country, continent. We could definitely do better.
Well, we put it onto my Facebook page, and because the message is just so clear from it, it does exactly what you just described. It wakes people up to their situation. Everything you state there is true, and you're talking as much about your own government as you're talking about the West, as you're talking about anything. It is a wake up to everybody, really, and I felt with 1.4 million hits, it had to go there on my Facebook, and it was great, and it got it gets well observed, I think is the way. And we also played it on the breakfast show a couple of mornings back as well, which went down extremely well, and there were a number of comments in our chat room about it, which was great.
Wow.
And it gives a wonderful message. And I also saw you do it on a video on one of the websites that you're on. You did it. It's the second number on the video. I think you probably know the one I mean. I think I'm just trying to think which side it was on, but you do 2 numbers on the video, and it's very, very good. So.
Oh yes, it's I think 2 numbers. It may be in Box Africa. I'm not sure if it's online though.
Africa's the second tune.
Yes, it's definitely Box Africa. Yes, it's.
Yeah,
I think it's in Box Africa. Was this an acoustic performance? Or?
Yeah, it looks like you're obviously at a gig with a live band, and you sort of do a brief description of the song, and then you go into it. But that's after I think you do Fizzy Lemonade first. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's with a live band. Okay, I remember. Yeah, it's definitely on my YouTube page. Yes, it is. I remember it. Yeah, I was supporting my guitarist. He's a fantastic jazz fusion player. So that was his night, and he asked me to come down and do a couple of tracks with him.
That's absolutely brilliant, and you were highlighted in the Urban Music Awards as one to watch for 2013. Absolutely right as well.
Thanks. Definitely, lots of hard work. So yeah, they were very supportive. And they worked with me last year. So I was just going through a process of sort of artist development to get myself heard. Talk to the right people. And yeah, I'm glad that the album's obviously well received. So that makes my job a whole lot easier as well.
Wonderful. That's great. Heading into the future, then what's happening with Debra Debs going forward? What's the plan?
I leave the plan to the guys who are working with me at the moment, but the plan is I've already started working on my next album, and I've also just signed a distribution licensing deal with a label in Japan, so the album goes out live, it goes to stores and online in Japan in a couple of weeks. There are a few more radio interviews I'm doing at the moment, so I'm pretty much just promoting the album. Got some live shows coming up, but I'll let everyone know about the dates on my website and Twitter feed and Facebook. But it's really just promoting the album, doing radio interviews and doing live shows, and working on the next album. Sorry.
Wonderful. Love the album. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
If you say you're performing the best tracks off the album, you must be doing the whole album, because they're all the best tracks, I think.
Well, that's good then. So I have no worries at all, because you're going to love whatever I do.
Gonna love it to bits. Absolutely, no, we are. So if there's anything else, Debra Debs, you'd like to tell your fans here in the UK and across the globe, because we are a global radio station, then please let them know, like your social media and websites and so on. If you want to point them in the right direction for those, that would be great.
Yes, cool. So my Facebook name is Debra Debs. I'm on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter. It's Debra Debs. And my website is www.debradebs.com. You can find me anywhere on the internet as long as you can type the name correctly.
I think we'll be able to manage that. That's brilliant. That's all good stuff. I just had one more question for you, and that was the video for Africa when you're on the back of the bike. Where was that actually shot?
That was shot in Cameroon. It was a weird one. In the beginning of last year, I just decided I came back from Germany for Christmas, and I'd work out, get myself fit, and just see how the year pans out. And my mum said, "Why don't you come down and do a show? Nobody really knows you in Cameroon." I was like, "Okay, cool." So went down. My mum put a show together. We had lots of people turn up, radio, TV. It was so amazing. And then the Director General of the National TV station said, because I've done some interviews and I did some live shows, and he said, "Why don't you just do a music video so we could play it whilst you're away?" And I thought, okay, great. So I called up with a few friends, and they said, "Okay, let's do a video." And within sort of 2 days, we shot the video, and it was ready within a week. And that's literally how it was. So we had no real plan. All I wanted to portray was something more grungy than the average glossy music video. I wanted something that could relate to my lyrics, and that could tell a story even if my lyrics weren't around. So if you had people who were deaf and were watching the video, they could tell exactly what I was saying without having to listen to it.
No, that works.
So exactly. So I was going to get into a small cart, but I couldn't fit into. Well, I could fit into the cart, but it wasn't practical. So we have lots of guys who ride motorbikes and you ferry passengers left, right, and centre. And we just picked one of the guys off the road and said, hey, how about doing a music video with us? And he was like, oh, okay, cool. So we paid him, and I got on the bike. I was scared as hell, but yeah, it definitely worked.
It was good. It gives that video, it gives the lyrics of the song, like you say, a great deal of support, and fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Thank
loving
you.
all of it. That's really good. So we'll look forward to seeing you at Music Connects, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. Absolutely loved it. Thank you very much, Debra Debs.
Thank you very much, DJ Glass. Appreciate it.
You're more than welcome.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. Have a wonderful day. You take care.
Okay. You too. Take it easy. Bye.
Thank you now. Bye. Bye.